Goths are being traumatized for life this week due to one of our number being dubbed an e-girl. There is one stranger on the internet who has not immediately recognized you as a goth. How fucking dare they? You should be enormously grateful that e-girls exist, because believe me, you are going to miss it and complain loudly when the fashion passes by. And if you are a goth and this is ruining your life, you are being mistaken on a daily basis for a flipping e-girl, I am here to teach you how to not give any fucks at all. Oh dear, goths are being traumatized for life this week. Hello, you wonderful human of the internet. Well, welcome to the first video about goths I've made in a little minute. But the other day I saw a post on Instagram and I have never seen such a disastrous reign of offended goths in a very long time. And all of this was due to one of our number being dubbed an e-girl. So I want to explain, if you are a non-goth, I want to explain why the goths were so terribly offended by this. And if you are a goth and this is ruining your life, you are being mistaken on a daily basis for a flipping e-girl, I am here to teach you how to not give any fucks at all. So, okay, let's start with why the goths are offended. Reason number one is usually because it is the younger subsection of the goths who are offended because of the fact that their gothiness is not being recognised. There is one stranger on the internet who has not immediately recognised you as a goth. How fucking dare they? How very fucking dare they? It's a problem that all young goths face. You get into this and you want everybody to see you as a goth. It's one of the reasons that younger goths tend to dress the most stereotypically trad goth or new goth. They pigeonhole themselves very much because then they are wearing a very recognizable costume, so people will look at them and go goth, and I guess it's an identity. It's an identity they have chosen, they are comfortable with, and they want everyone to recognize. Because of the fact that a lot of us, when we were younger, we were the bullied kid, we were kind of a no-one, we didn't really know who we were, we didn't fit in, we didn't have a group identity, and suddenly goth is a group identity we can have. It makes us feel like we fit in, it makes us feel like we're kind of one of the popular kids, and every time someone calls you a goth, you think about all the people you look up to in real life, on the internet, whatever. Sorry, I've had a lot of caffeine today and I'm very hypersensitive to it. So every time somebody calls you a goth, you kind of feel like you're a member of the in crowd. So in my day, when I was young on the scene and I was in this stage where everyone had to see me as a goth, the insult was emo. If somebody mistook you for a freaking emo instead of a goth, you would lose your shit because people are not recognizing our gothiness, which is really silly. Apart from anything, as you hopefully and probably know, goth is not really about what you look like anyway. It is about the music. If you are listening to the music, you have some knowledge of the music, you are a freaking goth, and it doesn't matter what you look like. I do not look like this all the time. Most of the time I'm wearing no makeup at all and slouching around in sweatpants and a t-shirt. I genuinely do not believe there are many full-time goths in the world as far as stylistics, as far as going out every day and being recognised as a goth, but I do remember how much it matters to younger goths. It's something you grow out of, don't worry, it will go away. You will not have this insecurity for life, because personally I would not give a shit about being called an e-girl at all. Even if I am dressed in a pink onesie at the pharmacy right now, I'm still a goth, because it's not about what you're wearing, it's about the music, and the music is still in your brain. Therefore, everyone on the street doesn't have to recognise you as a goth. It is perfectly fine to be a part-time goth if you want to. It is perfectly fine to never dress goth if the fashion doesn't appeal to you. And I don't honestly see why the fashion should appeal to every goth. What is it about listening to spooky music that makes people suddenly want to dress in black? Like, are there subliminal messages in the music? What's going on? Fashion, music, they don't have to be intertwined, so don't feel that everyone has to recognise you as a goth all the time, or you're just going to drive yourself crazy. So you will grow out of this thing. But the second reason The second and biggest reason that goths are offended by being called e-girls, because e-girls are posers. They are posers. They're not into the music. They're not into any of it. All they do is they put on the clothes. They're stealing our fashion. They're stealing our style. They're trampling on our scene. They're not into any of it. They don't understand the history. They don't care about the history. They don't care about the music. It's disgusting. They're posers. And you are calling me a poser. This is the second reason people are offended. So since we're talking about understanding the history of the alternative scene here, this is a very big point to note, because you are going to go through this multiple times in your life, as I have done. Goth stylistics come into mainstream fashion roughly every decade. It happened round about 2010, 2011. Goth was a huge fashionable thing. All the fashion magazines, even like Cosmopolitan and stuff, they were teaching you how to get the gothic look, which was so on trend at that time. And just the same as now with the e-girls, oh, they're stealing our scene, they're trampling on it, they don't care about the music. This was exactly what happened with goths in 2010. Everybody was so butthurt about the fact that, you know, normal people were wandering around looking like goths, and they didn't care about any of what goth is actually about. It's disgusting. And then the fashion passes by, and you come to realise that it really doesn't matter. And this is exactly what will happen with e-girls. E-girls, it is purely, as far as I have been able to research, it is purely a fashion thing. It doesn't seem to have any bones to it at all. It's not about music, it's not about culture, it's not about anything. It is literally just a fashion, and fashions die very quickly. Even musical scenes can die very quickly. The fact that emo is dead as a dodo now, and you just don't see emo kids wandering around anymore, when the world used to be thick with them, and that's gone. That is gone, and it disappeared in the space of, what, like a single decade? So honestly, the fact that goth as a scene has lasted this long is miraculous. You don't see that when you're young. You feel, oh, this has been around forever, it's going to be around forever, that's just how things are. No, these scenes can pass by. The fact that emo just dropped dead and disappeared off the face of the earth, I suspect if you are fairly young, you will live to see the final rattling death blow of the goth scene. It will disappear in your lifetime. I genuinely believe that. It's amazing to me that any young people are actually into goth to this day, because it is a dying scene. Therefore, I would say you need to be grateful for any popularity, coverage, attention the goth scene gets. So when it comes to gothic fashion coming into style, please do not be rude to the e-girls who they're trampling on our scene, they don't care about the history, they don't care about the music, they're just wearing the clothes. They don't want your scene, mate. They don't want it. They're not trying to steal your scene from you. They're not trying to ruin anything precious. All they are doing is wearing the clothes that they presently like. And one of the things we love about our scene is the freedom to express yourself and to wear the clothes you like. So please, for God's sake, don't be a gigantic hypocrite and shit on people who are also wearing the clothes they like. The second reason you should be enormously grateful that e-girls exist and that goth is presently in fashion is affordable, easily available, huge ranges of gothic clothing, because believe me, you are going to miss it and complain loudly when the fashion passes by and suddenly all of these cheaper, smaller online retailers selling all of these gothy bits, you know, the harnesses you get, the little skirts, all the stuff that's kind of a little bit new goth, a little bit e-girl, and it's quite cheap. It's like it's a lot cheaper than punk rave, Killstar, all of that stuff. But you can make a decent outfit out of it. Be grateful for that. If you are the owner of a small business, whether you're selling kind of like resin jewelry or like bone earrings or kind of witchy candles, anything a little bit occulty and witchy, be grateful for the e-girls, because they are keeping your business or these businesses you love going. Popularity is great. When things purely depend on actual goths and actual alternative people, there aren't enough of us. They die. I have watched this back in the late 90s. The last time before 2010 that goth was in fashion, it was because of The Craft, because of Blade, because of The Matrix, all of those movies that came out and they had goth stylistics, Underworld being another one. And so goth was in fashion for people who just liked the style, and goths bitched about it, but there were stores to go to that sold all this pagan beautiful stuff and clothing and everything. They died over the next few years, and then, you know, everything sprang back up in 2010 briefly, but it was mostly mainstream fashion. This time we have the e-girls, who are a little bit stranger. I do feel like e-girls have a little bit of a weird side. So here's why, as a final reason, you need to be nice to them. They don't want your scene right now, but if you're nice to them, there is the high possibility that these people who are already dressing kind of spooky, these people who have the makings of a goth or alternative person, if you are nice to them, you could be boosting the fresh blood into your scene for a long time to come. And like I say, we need it. We need it. So please tell me you're not becoming the person who is gatekeeping people wearing what they want to wear and what they feel confident in. Was that not the kind of shit that you were probably bullied for all the way through high school, was expressing yourself, dressing the way you wanted to dress? Now you're telling me you're going to go do that to other people just because you feel insecure about them essentially making you look like a poser because they are posers. And no, be confident in your own identity. Your identity is not tarnished by someone else's identity. You have to exist with what is it now, like 8 billion other humans? You are going to see this happen again round about every decade because it's a cool look. It is a cool look, and I think a lot of people, even very mainstream people, like to experiment with darker, spookier things. I mean, I got this top today. It's ridiculous. I love it, and it's not even a particularly goth brand, it's just a kind of sexy roleplay in bed type brand, but clearly there are enough mainstream women out there who would like to dress up as Morticia Addams in the bedroom that this clothing exists, and I love it. Am I going to call those women posers and tell them, no, you shouldn't have kinky gothy sex in the bedroom because you wear pink in the daytime? No, because them existing means that I got this top. Them existing means that there are weird kinky sex shops in the world that lots of goths are into as well. You know, you have to realise that the ecosystem of all of these things, that if something you are into becomes popular, there is going to be more of the offshoots of that thing for you to have. And just look on it as a positive thing, because ultimately, right, you can't change this. It doesn't matter what you say about e-girls, they're not going to go away. You're not going to shut down this fad by being butthurt about their existence, right? So accept the things that you cannot change, realise that e-girls are going to exist for the next few years, and that goth is going to come back into fashion in some other obnoxious form in another decade, and you can't control that. You have no control over any of it, so you may as well just reap the benefits. So the next time you see an e-girl, don't come at them all sneery. Maybe just see what they actually are into, and if they are into listening to pop music or Lil Peep or whatever, then that's fine. Maybe show them some of yours, you know, be chill about it, because a lot of the people you meet are going to think your music is shit, cringy, old and boring, and that's not a nice feeling. It's not a nice feeling to be mocked for your musical tastes. It certainly doesn't turn you on to that person. It doesn't make you want to listen to their music. So if you start these things with an e-girl by being like, oh, you're into this, okay, well, I've never heard it, or, you know, I secretly think it's shit, but maybe I'll give it a listen. What's your favourite track? Like let's do a swap. You might be able to educate people, and actually you may find that you do enjoy some of the music they listen to. I started listening to Lil Peep because I was like, who the hell is this guy? What's going on? I don't know. Back in 2018, totally fell in love with his music, listen to it a lot now. That's okay. It doesn't dent my identity as a goth because I am eclectic. I think one of the cool things about goth is its eclecticism. Is that even a word? Again, don't be afraid to be a part-time goth. Being 100% goth would make you the most boring person alive. The cool things and interesting things about other goths you meet are the surprising things, honestly. Once you've met a few, I mean, yeah, when you're young, it's interesting to have conversations about goth stuff because it's your new interest and it's fun, it's exciting, but honestly, after about 3 years on the scene, you are going to find that the things that really draw you to people are the surprising stuff. Like, oh wow, you know, you're into goth, but actually you live in a bubblegum pink house. Or actually you're a secretly huge country music fan. That's kind of interesting, and maybe you make some kind of country goth crossover, and maybe you're going to be the next big thing because of this weird, eclectic, new thing you're birthing into the world. That's the stuff that's cool to me. And I've gone so far off topic with this, but essentially, please please do not be offended by being called an e-girl. If you are female and a goth in the year 2020, it is very likely to happen to you at some point, because goth is a subculture that is dying. So you are going to find that young people, if they look at you and they call you anything, they shout something at you on the street, they're probably going to shout emo at you, or they're just going to shout weirdo at you, or e-girl at you. They're not going to shout goth at you in this day and age. So don't expect to get this little scene pat on the back from randomers in the world these days. It's just not going to happen. And the only thing you can control about this situation is your reaction to it. So don't react as though the person has just dropped a racist slur on you or something. They literally just mistook your subculture for another subculture. That's all it is. She was wearing a black skirt, you're wearing a black skirt, they mixed you up. It happens, it's gonna happen. E-girls will pass by, you will miss them because of the clothing everywhere, and because of the fact that you will suddenly be seen as a much more isolated, dated looking weirdo when goth is suddenly not trendy anymore. And then in another 10 years, goth will come back into style. You are going to have to go through this cycle in your life. I've watched it. This is the third iteration of goth being trendy that I have seen now. And at this point, it washes straight over my head. So don't worry, it won't bug you forever. But anyway, with all that said, if you are interested in Gothic history and in how the scene was in its younger days, then I have been making a string of videos which I'm calling the Nostalgia Project, talking about my experiences on the goth scene in the late 90s to early 2000s, and some of you guys seem to be quite enjoying them, which is really cool because I'm enjoying the fuck out of telling them and writing them and all of that. So I will leave the playlist of those stories below if you want to jump on board the Nostalgia Project train and come with me through early gothy experiences. Yeah, this is your time for that right now. If you're young, this is your youth, this is your introduction to the scene. Make it something beautiful, don't make it something mean and bitter, and don't chase away people who could potentially become members of your friendship group. A lot of the people I met on the goth scene, to begin with, I thought they were posers too, because as I say, emo was a raging huge thing when I was getting into the scene. Emo was coming up sides it, and there were people I thought were posers too, and a lot of them turned out to be really cool, and a lot of them would be friends for a while and would be some really fun people to hang out with. And did they become goths? A little bit, some of them, not so much others. But they were fun to hang out with, and that is what youth should be about. So don't piss on the enthusiasms of other people, particularly not when you've gone through life having your enthusiasms pissed on by bullies and parents who don't understand you and all the rest of it. Try and just have some compassion for others and realise that your identity is your identity, and other people's identity cannot hurt your identity so long as they're not being nasty. Treat people as you would like to be treated, pay it forward, make the world a nicer place, all of that gooey shit. And with that said, I'm literally going to shut up, so over and out. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.